Welcome, everyone, to the Strongest Steel podcast. This is episode 20. I just want to acknowledge that we're here in the District 3 office on the traditional unceded territory of Coast Salish people, the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. And I'm Scott Lunny. I'm the director for United Steelworkers District 3. The pronouns I use are he and him, and I'm excited about this podcast because we have two new guests, never before heard or seen on the Strongest Steel podcast, although you may have heard about one of them because we film in his office. So with me today, I've got Brett Barden, who does communications and political action for USW District 3, and I have Sarah Konig, who's staff in our office and looks after all our finances and many other things for us here in District 3. And what we're going to talk about today is Pride Month, which is upcoming in June, and wanted to talk about some of the things that we're doing as steelworkers, some of the reasons why, and just have a discussion about the importance of that for us in our union and in terms of building our union and building solidarity within our union, but also with our allies in the community. So I don't know. Over to you, Brett. What is Pride Month and why do we have Pride Month? How about that for a question?
Well, so Pride started off as a protest, right? And it's important. It's just not fancy parades, fancy colors, right? There is meaning behind it, right? We are fighting every day to be seen and to be heard in society, in our workplaces and in our communities. And, lots of people in our communities face a lot of discrimination and harassment at work and in our communities. And it's important for us to continue to be seen, to be heard, to be out in the community. And Pride is a time where we can come together. It shines a spotlight. Lots of our allies come together to support us. And it's really a time where we get to reflect on where the accomplishments that we've achieved over the years and how much more we have to do, right? Because we are under attack every day by far-right groups and movements and political parties, by churches and other institutions. So we have to continue to push back and stand up and fight. And we can't do it alone. So it's important for us to come together for our Pride Month so we can acknowledge where we've been and where we have to go.
Sure, yeah. I remember last year, Sarah, I saw you at the Vancouver Pride Parade, but as Brett says, it's more than that. What does Pride Month mean to you?
I'm just really, I feel really happy. The fact that we can, especially in Vancouver, we have such a diverse group of people, and I love living here, and I love the fact that I can, be out and I can walk with my girlfriend and not have to feel like I'm in danger. And I do realize that is it's a blessing, I guess I'll say, for lack of a better word, because there's so many places that you can't even walk and hold hands with your partner for fear of harm or discrimination. So I guess for me, it's a way of appreciating the diverse and open and inclusive culture that we have here in Canada, and I appreciate and I realize it's not the same in a lot of countries. So it's kind of celebrating what we have, and also realizing that that we are lucky, and that also, these blessings that we have, they're not solid. I mean, as we've seen recently in different countries, all of these rights that we have can be taken away any minute. So it's really strong. I feel really strongly about appreciating that what we've achieved, and also realizing, like Brett said earlier on, that we need to continue fighting, and so that we're not going backwards into the future.
For sure, yeah. No, and it's something that's I think increasingly under attack, not just around the world, but right in our country. And as the labor movement, we always talk about sticking together and not letting the boss or the other folks divide us. And more and more it seems like things like attacking 2S LGBTQIA plus folks is a way that people with power, our bosses and some folks politically, are trying to divide people. What we always say is human rights or labor rights or human rights or that type of stuff. And I think it applies across the board. I mean, we have to make sure that we don't let that kind of stuff seep into even further into our political discourse or into our workplaces where these kind of things, differences or so-called differences, are used to divide workers, are used to divide us and make us weaker. So what do we do in the union, beyond celebrating Pride Month or going into some of the marches or parades? What do we do on an ongoing basis as a union to make sure that we're hearing from and including 2S LGBTQIA plus members in the work we do?
Sure. So Scott, I think one of the things that the district has really stepped up on over the last few years, we've created the District 3 Human Rights Committee. And we're bringing together voices from across Western Canada and the territories to talk about issues, not just pride issues, all types of human rights issues, but we certainly do focus in on pride issues. We also have the National Steel Pride Working Group, which meets a couple times a year. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And we also have we have locals who have created Steel Pride committees or kind of like ad hoc committees when there's events. We have to do more, right? We've started by we've created some resources through the National Steel Pride Working Group, such as pronouns and or a pronoun resource guide. And I think Sarah will talk about pronouns in a few minutes. But it's really important that we create these safe spaces by use of pronouns. Like my pronouns are he, him. Sarah, I'm not sure if you want to jump in and talk a little bit about pronouns?
Oh, no, just like you said, it's about creating a safe space. And I think that sometimes people wonder why they need to reveal their own pronouns if they don't consider themselves gender diverse. And I think that for me, it's really important because it's, like you said, creating a safe space, but also the realization that, if Scott, he opens every meeting, he always ensures our pronouns. And I think that that's a way of just being inclusive. And the fact that when one person can share their pronouns, it's not necessarily about me telling people that my gender expression, but it's more about making it comfortable for other people. It's not necessarily about me; it's about others. And so that's how we can help. Creating a special place where everybody feels comfortable, and they can just be who they are in that safe space.
In our working group, we've created a resource for local unions, and we're encouraging at the start of any union event, a conference, workshop, whatnot. And we're going to be working with the education department a little bit more on this to make sure all of our curriculums include at the start, when we do the territorial land acknowledgements, that we are also doing a pronoun introduction as well, and explaining the importance of pronouns and how they create a safe environment throughout that event or training session.
And I think the thing that folks miss about that and the pronouns and even the land acknowledgement is that the question folks ask is why are we doing that? What's the point or whatever? Which I think is the wrong question. Like why is it such a big deal to just say something like I try to do, and same with the pronouns I use are he and him. If that even makes one person feel safer in the environment that we're in, well, why wouldn't I do that? That's the question. Like, why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you do everything you can, small or big, to make the space safe for for everyone. That's what our union's all about. When we look into our union's constitution, it says it's for everybody. The union's for everybody, for all workers. So we should do everything, big or small, we can to make our spaces safe for everyone, and be advocating so that all spaces, all workspaces, all public spaces are safe for everyone. It's and I just think people ask the wrong question. Like, they ask, why are we doing it instead of why not? It's not that hard. It's not that difficult to do small things that might make our spaces a little bit safe. We have something called the National Pride Network too, and what is the national? Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Steel Pride Network.
Yeah, Steel Pride
Network.
Network. So the Steel Pride Network meets about 3 times a year, virtually through Zoom, and we bring together members of the community, the rainbow community, from across Canada, and it's basically a safe place where we can come and talk about the issues that are impacting us within our workplaces, within the community, and nationally as well. And out of this, we take this information back to develop resources and figure out how we can better support our members. One of the things that's really important, we need a bargain language into our collective agreements, because yes, there are standards that are out there that the governments have brought in through legislation and policies, but depending on the government, these things can be just ripped apart and destroyed right away and removed, and there's no protection then if this language is not bargained into our collective agreements. So it is important that when we are at the bargaining table, we're taking a look at some of the language. So we've heard from some of our members some of the challenges that they are facing, and there are some of our collective agreements that have done a very good job of negotiating language that protects members of the rainbow community.
Mm-hmm. And I suppose there's legislation as well, and like political action that we could be taking to maybe enshrine some of that stuff into employment standards. I don't know, is there other stuff that we're doing to advocate for legislative change?
Well, but again, on the legislative front, all of that can change, right? Mm-hmm. So it could be there for a few years, and like we saw in Alberta, the UCP government came in and took everything that had been brought forward through the NDP government, and they basically put that through the shredder, and it was gone like that. So it's important that we actually bargain this language in and not just focus on legislative when it comes to some of our rights.
Right. Yeah. Same as we do for health and safety, or other human rights language, getting it in, or domestic violence language, where we want to get it in the collective agreement so they can't take it away. The only way they can take it away is over our striking membership. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Is there other things that we can do? Maybe Sarah, you could weigh in if there's other things we can do to make our workplaces, better for members of the rainbow community. Uh-huh. Is it okay? Can I say that, or do I have to say?
No, you can say the rainbow.
I can say the rainbow community. I can say pride, and I can say 2S LGBTQIA+.
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
So there you go, everyone. You can say rainbow community if 2S LGBTQIA+ is too many letters. We
actually passed a resolution at the last National Policy Conference that encouraged locals to use the acronym 2S LGBTQIA+, or refer to the community as the rainbow community as a whole.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good to know. Okay, yeah, sorry, I was asking about other ways, Sarah, that we can maybe make our workplaces better for members of the rainbow community.
I think a really important thing is first off, similar to starting a meeting with pronouns, is just being very vocal and making it clear at the beginning of a meeting that all members are welcome. All of the Rainbow Committee people are welcome and in the local union, and also very important to speak out when you do hear things that are not appropriate. It's really important to like we stand up for our members. I mean, the queer community is also are our members, so we need to stand up and speak out against any sort of harassment or discrimination. Brett was talking about bargaining. Of course, that's very, very important important thing too. It's also good to support any of the local union, any of the Pride events, and also supporting the human rights, your local union human rights committee. Having Pride content in your workplace, having a flag, having pins, just showing that you are a supporter. And also, again, with bargaining or negotiating, things like gender neutral leave, gender neutral language, and benefit coverage. Rather than just having your spouse, it could also be your domestic partner who is able to access your coverage or your benefits. And also, gender neutral washrooms are a huge part too. It can be very difficult for gender diverse people. Washrooms are a huge thing for them. So having access to that gender neutral washroom in your workplace, and if that's not something that you have, I know a lot of places don't, that can be something that can be, you can get to work on.
For sure. Yeah, no. And a lot of that stuff is, when we talk about what used to be or what we used to be part of is the Be More Than a Bystander, and now we call elevating action. Mm-hmm. It's not just violence against. It's not just gender violence against men and women. It's gender violence against gender diverse folks as well, and that's an important component of that. And the important component of that is to not sit back, not to do something. When you see that kind of discrimination or violence or even just a joke or an offhand comment, is to say something, to do something, to take some sort of action to make sure that we're not letting that go. And the washroom thing is certainly part of our washroom campaign. I mean, one of the huge elements for us looking into how terrible washroom facilities are in many of our workplaces was gender issues and having gender neutral washrooms, and as well as clean washrooms and safe washrooms and not monitored washroom breaks and all that kind of stuff. So there's lots of ways that this all intersects with the work that we're doing as a union already to make sure all of our workplaces are safe for everyone and all of our union events are safe for everyone. Brett, I know you went to an international conference. I don't know, a few months ago, not that long, a while ago. It's probably longer than I think, but anyway, not that long ago. Maybe just tell us a little bit about ILGA and why it's important that as a union we participate in an organization like that.
Absolutely. So so it was in November. There was a delegation.
It was a long time ago.
I know, right?
Sorry.
It seems like just yesterday, though. It was such an incredible experience.
I even thought it was this year. So there you go.
So we went to South Africa. There were 3 other members from the various districts. So we had Dexter from District 3 from our Evraz local in Calgary join us. And then there was a member from District 5 and District 6 who was there. So I had the pleasure of leading the delegation, and it was just truly an unforgettable experience. So we had over 1,400 queer activists from around the world there, from 120 different countries. And it was very interesting to be in the same room, to be able to talk and hear about the struggles that our community is facing across the board, right? Like, some of our struggles in Canada are the same struggles that they're facing. And some of the struggles that they're facing in their communities and their countries, we've done a good job at here. But we're all... One thing was very clear: we are all under attack, and that was concerning to hear. Some of the countries, they would tell us, "Oh, we want to be like Canada. Canada has it, so much better, in the United States as well." But you look at what's happening in the United States and the attacks on the trans community, and DEI. Policies in the States, right? Trump is attacking. These are things that are happening, and they're happening here in Canada as well. And in some of our provinces, we're hearing, in Alberta, and how the UCP has brought forward legislation. In Saskatchewan has brought forward legislation that attacks the trans community. So we were able to share some of the things that are happening in Canada, and have some really nice conversations. Mason from District 6 actually was able to participate on one of the panels, was asked at the last minute and shared some very amazing insights. But it was really great. It's clear that people are still facing violence, harassment, discrimination, and all of this impacts the mental health and well-being of members of our community. We heard stories how people are facing isolation and exclusion within their workplaces. And there was a story about one of our members in one of our network meetings about how they face harassment and exclusion and isolation from within their own members, within our own steelworkers, which is incredibly sad. So we still have work to do to break down barriers. But one of the most important things, I think, and one of the takeaways was the importance of labor at these events and at being involved in our community. The labor movement has come forward and been strong allies for all of us. When we have protests, when there are right-wing groups and out there protesting, attacking our community, labor shows up every single time. They show up with bodies to show support, to wave the flags. Without labor, it would be very hard to push back on these attacks. But with labor on our side, we are able to do so. We're able to stand up and fight back. And every single speaker pretty much gave kudos to the labor movement for showing up and being there and standing with us, not only in Canada, but around the world. And there was a trade union pre-conference as well at this event. And it was just such amazing to see that support from labor and to have labor in the room and to see how many labor activists were there. And just what really blew my mind too there was just the solidarity. The South African labor delegation, they would welcome us in song and dance, and they would erupt in the middle of the conference into this song, and it was just so uplifting. And their chants and just the solidarity throughout it. So it was a very amazing event, and this was the second time that Steel has participated in ILGA, and hopefully it's not the last. And Scott, we really appreciate your support to send members from District 3 and also to Marty Warren, our national director, for sending a delegation. It was very, very appreciative. So.
Cool. That's great. That was our check to make sure that Dexter listens to the podcast because he got a shout out, and then Marty listens to the podcast because he got a shout out too. I got a really important question now, because if you're watching on YouTube, you'll note that there's 3 colors of District 3 Pride shirts here. If you're just listening, Brett's got a black shirt on, I've got a white shirt on, and Sarah's got a gray shirt on with this District 3 Pride logo on it. What color are we going to have this year?
I think maybe blue.
What do you
I
think?
was just going to say that.
Blue? You think blue?
I think
Blue. Okay. Blue.
So I don't know if you've seen the Metalos, the District 5 Pride shirts.
Okay, yeah.
And they're that really nice kind of more of a little bright blue.
Oh, like a lighter, not this blue.
Not quite navy
Okay,
blue, but
yeah.
more of like a
It's
French Canadian blue. Yeah, I think they actually call it French blue.
French blue. Okay,
it's quite.
French blue.
I've heard that.
Okay.
En français.
So if you have any thoughts about the color of the shirt this year, D3 comms at usw.ca. It's a D, the number 3 COMMS at usw.ca. My 2 cents is I don't mind the white one, but some people didn't like the white one because it's wet. It becomes slightly see-through, and that's not everyone's
when you're marching
thing.
in a parade and it's 35 degrees outside.
You didn't like the
I
gray
didn't like
one.
the gray
No.
because I sweat a lot when
Yeah.
it's hot out, and it was just sweat. The gray was not good. The black was way too hot if you're marching around in July and August somewhere wearing your shirt. So maybe blue. Yeah, we were thinking blue,
Or maybe something else.
maybe something else. Okay, we'll have to wait and see.
It'll be a surprise. The order form will be coming out soon if it's not already out.
Okay. Well, in addition to the order form coming out, is there anything we should be folks should be looking forward to or thinking about this year? Is there any?
Well, local unions should go on to our incredible website, usw.ca/steelpride. You can find a lot of resources. We have postcards. We have the pronoun guides. We have a guide for transitioning in the workplace. The pronoun guide is up there. There's just a ton of resources. We also have an event page listing a lot of the different Pride events happening across Canada. We encourage locals to get involved. Show up at events, not just the big events. The big parades they're important. They're great. And we do have a presence in like Vancouver. We're always joining the BC Fed of Labor. In Alberta, we often join the Alberta Federation of Labor for the Calgary Pride Parade. And there's parades in Victoria and Kamloops all over the place. But there's also a lot of small Pride festivals. And local unions can make a big impact by getting a tent and showing up at these events. And if the locals contribute to the Family Community Education Fund, did I get that right?
Yeah.
Family Education Community? No.
Family Community
Education Fund.
Family Community Education Fund.
You can apply for funding to hold Pride events and to get a table and your tent and merchandise to give away at these different events. So you can make a big impact in these smaller communities and where we're seen, and then people know that they see themselves within the union. They know Steel is a safe place. That it's a place where members from our community will feel that they have a place within Steel maybe even if they're unorganized workers, right? Like they will look at us and say, "Hey, I can join the Steelworkers because I see myself and I have a home within the Steelworkers." So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I was just echoing what Brett said. Is I find that the small parades and the small towns, those events are often more impactful because everybody thinks, the big city. Of course, there's they have lots of people and people travel, but really, if you're a group of 20 people and that's a lot more visible and it's powerful. It's powerful in these small places and any support that we can give as a union, I think, is really, really important to these small areas.
Yeah, and it just can't be us doing it. It comes back to the local unions, right? Yeah. The local unions have to step up and help get into these smaller communities because that's where they are. We always say Steel we make great neighbors, right? Mm-hmm. So we have to step up and show up at these events and wave the flag. And we have pride flags too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. And, that's something that there's a long, history in our union and the unions that formed our union and lots of the labor movement is, stepping up to support other folks that are not always even our members, in protest or in working for rights, like working for the, working for the right to vote for folks who didn't have the right to vote, many, many years ago, or, standing with folks who, have are otherwise being oppressed or discriminated against. And so, this is a continuation of for the labor movement to be that ally, that group that's there with folks that can protest, support, back the demands of government or others for fairness and equality and equity and justice, because that is part of what we do. Just like we ask others to support us when we're bargaining in our workplaces. Doesn't really matter to them whether we get a fair collective agreement if they don't work there, but we ask for their solidarity if we're on a picket line or we're in a tough bargaining situation. We come together and we have solidarity. We need to do that for folks in the 2S LGBTQIA plus community that are facing discrimination, are facing harassment, are facing workplaces and communities that are maybe not just welcoming, but actually attacking their right to exist. And it's part of our obligation as labor to be at those fights, at those protests, and allies to folks in trying to make the world a better place and a safer place. So we're about out of time. So I will just, if there's anything that you think you want to say that you didn't get to say yet, Sarah?
No, I'm good. Happy Pride to everybody. Wish you that right now.
Awesome. Okay. Brett?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy Pride Month. And hopefully we'll see you out there and in one of the parades throughout the summer. Pride is just not in June. It's every day, it seems, for us. And there's lots of events happening throughout the year. So do drop by one of the events. And we hope you'll join us.
In your maybe blue Pride shirt. And I want to say thank you to both of you for coming on the Strongest Steel podcast. Brett, this is episode 20. We're in your office every time that we do it. And this is the first time we've had Brett actually officially on the podcast. So good job. We knew you'd be a great guest. I
like the behind the scenes.
Okay, you like the and
who's taking the pictures right now?
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, and thank you, Sarah, for taking time out of your day, which I know is busy.
A little busy,
dealing with all of the problems we put on your desk. But appreciate you spending the time to do Strongest Steel podcast, episode 20. And with that, thank you all for listening. Please share. Tell your friends, tell your workmates, tell the folks in your local to listen to the Strongest Steel podcast. Like I said, d3comms at usw.ca if you have any feedback or comments. And you can follow us on social media, all the various social media channels at USW District 3. And thanks again. This is the Strongest Steel podcast.